Hello and welcome back to the Visionary Mindset Podcast. Today is episode 15 and we are here with Adrian Boysel with Brand Butler. We're going to dive into his journey growing up, what he did before the industry that he's in now. So why don't you introduce yourself and let's get to know more about you.
Thanks for having me here, brother. It's good to be here. So I'm born and raised Sacramento native, been here my whole life. I lived in Illinois for a year, and that was an interesting experience. But growing up all over the Sacramento region, so went to 12 schools growing up, a lot of instability as a kid, grew up in a very broken home. My mom was no longer part of my life at a year old. And then from that point forward, I didn't meet her or see her again until I was 17. So long period of gap there with my mom, but I had my grandparents. They were basically like my parents. My dad was off partying and doing his thing while my grandparents were taking care of me. And then at 4, my grandfather keeled over right in front of me from a heart attack and passed away due to alcoholism. And so he was a huge influence and inspiration for my life because although he was an alcoholic, he was a very loving, sweet, kind, and gentle person. And he was a video guy. And I got to sit in his office that he had converted his garage over to his office while he was doing business meetings. And even at the young age, all the way up to 4.5, I was almost 5 when he passed, about 6 months from being 5. Even up until that age, I remember those moments of sitting there in the garage on the floor, playing on the little device that he got me and him doing business meetings with customers. And just after he passed, it was always, let's play business. I mean, when kids would come over to my house or my cousins and family members would go, hey, let's play business. And I'd draw pictures and do business deals. My cousin Brittany, she's actually my aunt, who's like a year and a half older than me. She's more like a cousin. She used to come over and we used to do business and we got pictures of me at my little Tinker Tots table. So entrepreneurship and business is just something that's like in my DNA and in my blood. And so in my school years growing up, that kind of from drawing to doing videos in high school to then coming out of high school and doing, video and marketing and printing and graphic design. And that's kind of how my career unfolded. But yeah, that's kind of a quick snapshot of my background and life. My relationship with my dad was pretty rough because that's where a lot of the abuse and stuff came from in my life. So I had a lot of healing I had to do in my adult life since then. And from grandfather passing away, the relationship with mom and the relationship with dad, there was just a lot of brokenness. And so my goal in my life and my purpose is to help at-risk youth and restore broken families because that's where I came from.
That's amazing. So you got Brand Butler now. We'll dive into that. But what were you doing before Brand Butler, like right before?
Right before Brand Butler, I was running Adrian Agency, which we rebranded and formed a whole new corporation for that. It was just more in alignment with the direction we're going with everything that's happening with AI. We're looking to build something that we can do a big exit on eventually. Don't know when that's going to happen, but we designed it with the exit in mind. And so it was much more sellable as Brand Butler than Adrian Agency, right? So we got that, and there's 2 sides of the company, which we'll dive into more, but we have the agency side, and then we have the AI software that we built.
That's amazing. So that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you today is the AI landscape with, just the last few years and it going into the future. Where do you see it going? I mean, you've utilized it in your business. So what's going on right now?
I've used it in my business, in my faith, in my relationship, in my marriage with my child. I mean, there's probably not an aspect of my life now at this point that I haven't used it for. I mean, my taxes, from legal stuff. I mean, literally every aspect of my life it touches. And so I think where I see it going is really just integration with our day-to-day life in banking, in medical, in health, in wellness. I mean, every aspect from smartwatches to beds. I mean, you see the 8 sleep now, right? That's all artificial intelligence stuff. It's going to be part of our day-to-day life. And when I saw it really hit the scene and hit that mass market adoption with ChatGPT, it's time. And I'd already been playing around with some, Jasper and some other things before that. But once I saw that kind of hit and they came up with an interface similar to Google that's just so simple and so basic and anybody could do it, I was like, okay, it's game time now. Yeah. Now I can really incorporate this and integrate this into everything that I'm doing. And it's exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to have limitations to a certain point, but it actually far exceeded what I thought it was going to be doing.
If somebody's interested in utilizing AI that may be scared or, just on the fence about like, oh, well, I don't even know where to start. What would you recommend? Obviously ChatGPT is.
Yeah. ChatGPT is the easiest thing to play around with. Just what you need to do is put it into your calendar. If you live your life off of your calendar, which I do, if it's not on my calendar, it just doesn't happen, but put it in your calendar for 10 minutes, right? Anybody can commit 10 minutes a day, just play around on ChatGPT, ask some questions. The foundational piece that they need to know though, is the data set. Yeah. The data set that you give AI is the key and most important piece. And that's what we did in our software is we want to ask questions to our clients that go through our software, get as much data out of them as we can about their life, their values, their habits, like everything that we can possibly get from them. And we build a data set around that. Now, anything else we need to create from there, it already has this knowledge base that it can create emails, it can write offers, it can do campaigns, it can write social posts, it can make video outlines. Like it's just unlimited what you can create off of this. And so the speed to implementation, as a great example, I just launched a little offer called meme marketing from the idea at my mastermind that came up from just understanding the power of memes. Everybody shares memes. We all know memes, like we're all using them, but we don't really see the practical application in business. My buddy has a company called Meme Wars. And when he gave me his presentation deck, I started looking through this and looking at the market data and seeing the patterns in this. I was like, dude, it's the freaking Trojan horse. Why? I already use this for my personal brand stuff on a regular basis. Why am I not using it on my business side? And this is a huge window of opportunity. There's no one in this space right now that has a meme agency that does meme marketing for businesses. And this is so easy. Everybody loves it. They share it. This is the shareable content. And so I saw this pattern. I saw this opening. And so from the idea at my mastermind on the 15th to 15th to today, right? I had this thing launched 4 days ago. So it took me about 10 to 12 days to launch it from idea to full-blown website and collecting. I've already got 7 people signed up for our social media package that we're offering now. So in less than 2 weeks, I was able to go from idea to implementation and revenue coming in off of this idea. And I didn't actually start building the meme marketing thing until probably about 7 days earlier, like 7 days ago. It only took me 3 to 4 days to build that. Normally, if I was doing that without AI, it would have been a month to 3 months to build everything out that I've already got. I've got like 25 documents that I've created, built the initial data set, created a branding blueprint, created a marketing plan for it, and then copied all that data, put it into ChatGPT as my data set. And it's just the stuff that it's pumping out from sales letters to VSL scripts to emails, sequences. It's just insane, dude.
I feel like it's going to elevate all of us as business owners and entrepreneurs. I mean, it's a tool at our disposal. And we just, like you said, we have to give it the right prompts though. You have to know what to ask it and what to have it do.
And if you're good at what you do, like you are with video production and editing and real estate and like all these different niches, if you take that data and you're good at it and you give it to AI, it's just going to make it even better, right? But if you're putting garbage into it, like if you're messing with ChatGPT and you're like, yeah, my name is Adrian Boysel and I like creating stuff, right? The output you're going to get, like help me start a business, help me come up with a business name. But I'm like, this is my family history. These are the things that drive me crazy, that break my heart in the world. These are the things that, right? And you start asking those questions, right? A question we'll ask is a problem half solved. So if you ask the questions the right way, which is what I've trained, I took all of my Zoom consultations that I've done, took the transcriptions of them, and that's how I trained my AI tool to do these sessions. Like, what are the most common questions I ask in my brand strategy sessions with clients? I took over 100 transcripts, and that's what I trained the AI tool on, to ask the right questions so I can get the best possible output. So we get all the questions from them. It generates the output. Now we can take that output and do 1,000 different things.
You do. I'm sure you take the transcripts, do follow-ups with that. Like, I'm sure everything evolves around AI.
Yep. I mean, lead magnets. I mean, there's so much that can be built off of that.
Yeah. We haven't utilized it enough, but we're starting to make the turn.
Early.
It is.
That's the other thing, is like people think that they're late to the game. It's like same thing with YouTube. I see people that are like, I don't know if I should do YouTube. It's kind of late for that. And I'm like, dude, we're still so freaking early. Yeah. The internet has really only been around for 25, 30 years.
When did YouTube come out? Wasn't that
2008, I think, is when it officially started.
So it's been less than 20 years. Imagine 20 years from now.
That's right. And it started as a dating website. So I don't think it really even like became anything real until like 2010. Like it was really like kind of official platform in 2010. And then 2012 was when I saw a lot of people jump on. And then by 2014, I was like, oh man, like, I saw people really going after it. Marie Forleo. There were some initial early adopters of the YouTube platform that killed it and just retired it. Like in 2014, they were done. They already had 1 million subscribers or 500,000. And that's the thing, is like, you don't need a ton of subscribers on YouTube to make 6 or 7 figures off of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Especially now that they've incorporated the short form content and shorts, like you can get a lot of subscribers and views through that. I mean, we've seen with just what we've started initially posting is like, we're getting some decent views for being a smaller channel, you know, and getting subscribers off of that, you know, you wouldn't normally have if that hadn't have been implemented. So
exactly. Well, before YouTube, I was doing radio show, actual FM radio show, and I was paying $1,000 a month. It was like $1,100, $1,200, somewhere right around $1,000 a month for my radio show. And I got an hour block. I'd bring people in, Krista Proctors and all these different people into my show, and I'd sit down with them for an hour, and I had a producer running it, had commercials on the air they gave me as part of my spot. And now that was just audio. But now you have something like YouTube where it's literally looked at. I mean, you think of Ryan's Toy Review and Peter McKinnon's and all these influencers, that's television. Like YouTube is television. How are you going to get free airtime on TV now and not utilize that as a business owner? It just doesn't make any sense. If you're a business owner and you're not creating content on YouTube, the quality of the leads, I mean, I don't even have to sell anybody on YouTube when they come to me. I literally can send them a link for a $2,500 strategy session with me and they'll just buy it. No sales meeting, no strategy call, just an email response to their inquiry. Hey, can you help me with Midjourney? I'd love to talk to you about Midjourney. Cool, $2,500, and they just pay it. They're hot leads. They know you, like you, they trust you. They've seen all your content. They know you're the real deal, and it's an onboarding call. When I take on a client, it's not a sales call. It's an onboarding call.
So tell us more about Brand Butler. You've transitioned the brand into this new name. What do you guys do entirely?
So we created a really simple model. As Adrian Agency, one of the downfalls is like, oh, we can do SEO for you, and we got to come up with a custom package, and how many links do you want per month, and how many articles are we going to write, and how many citations are we going to do, and all the technical stuff, right? Clients don't care about that stuff. They don't need to know that stuff. It's not important to them. What they want to know is the results, right? What's the outcome? What's the ROI I'm going to get? And so I was like, man, we just need to make this so much more simple. Like, oh, we can run ads for you, or we can do Facebook ads, or we can do Google, and nickeling and diming every little service. Okay, it's $1,500 for Facebook, and it's $1,000 a month for Google ads, and $1,000 a month for YouTube ads, and and just next thing you know, it's like this hodgepodge of all these different services. And so what we did is we took a completely different approach. It's like organic, paid, and fractional CMO. Those are the only services that we have as far as our agency for a business, and the minimum entry point is $5,000 a month. And you get all of that. When I say organic, we're doing your social media marketing, we're doing your email marketing, we do your SMS marketing, we do your Google SEO, and we do your Google Maps. All organic. Like all that stuff is handled by us, and we put it into our CRM that we include in our service, which makes it really sticky. But we handle all of your organic, and it's a flat rate of $5,000 a month. If I were to price each one of those things out that we do, it would be like $7,000 to $10,000, $12,000 a month, depending on type of thing. So the only thing that's not included in that is actually purchasing the hard cost of the backlinks. Just like if you're running ads, the hard cost of the ad spend that doesn't go to us, it goes to Google or Facebook or whatever, right? So the hard cost of those things isn't included. Just like if we're sending out 1 million emails, there's a cost to send out 1 million emails. That's not included in the $5,000. So they got to pay that cost, but our rate to do the work, $5,000 a month for all of it. Same thing with ads. We'll run your Facebook, your YouTube, your Instagram, your X, all the ad platforms, and even run your influencer campaigns for you for a flat rate of $5,000 a month, all inclusive, right? And then fractional CMO. We have currently are only offering the fractional CMO, but we're going to introduce, we have a new partnership where we do fractional CFO, fractional COO, fractional CEO. So we'll have all these different fractional roles, and I'll have these partnerships with a couple different companies that can offer these fractional, basically executives to come in and help a business. And those are going to be a flat $5,000 a month. So 5, 5, and 5. So somebody can scale with us from 5 to $15,000 a month. The big downfall I saw in all that is like, great, they sign up for the $5,000 organic program. I'm like, cool, send me your content. They're like, what content? And I'm like, okay, all right. All right, so now we need to figure out content strategy. So I kept running into this. And so how I do all the business stuff that I do is when I bring on a client, I start off with the strategy session, your brand strategy, your marketing plan. And then that gives me an idea and the client the idea, okay, where do I need to start first? Well, it looks like my content isn't very good. The client's telling me that. After they've gone through both, they're like, oh yeah, my content is way off from what my brand, my archetype, and my avatar is. This doesn't resonate with my avatar or my archetype at all. I need to bring this into alignment, so I need to redo all my content. Cool. Is that something you want to do yourself, or would you like to have us do it? Oh, I'd like to have you guys just handle it. Cool. We can take over that for you. Right. So that was the first kind of on-ramp that I do with them. And then from there, we have now content that we create either under Video Marketing Vault, which stuff like this, right? You create a video, you can transcribe it, turn it into blogs, turn it into lead magnets, turn it into articles, right? There's so many things, Facebook content, right? So we started with that. It was like, okay, we need to have you. If you don't have any content, you don't have a brand strategy, let me get the strategy done first. Then we'll start creating content with our YouTube program, right? So you're going to get the organic marketing on YouTube, plus you're going to get all the content we're going to use to run ads, to do your SEO. So we really need to have these two first. So they start with the consulting, then they move into the video marketing. And then when they've got that dialed, then they can do organic and paid. So I can scale $5,000 now to $20,000 a month with that package. And it can even go higher than that.
So how has your client evolved over the last few years? You have mentioned that it's changed.
That's a great question. So when I first started, it was a printing and design, basically sign shop in Citrus Heights. My first clients were like, I'm a handyman, I'm a plumber, I'm a notary, I'm a taxi driver. I mean, literally, like, I own a gun shop, like Sacramento Black Rifle. When they first started, they moved in the first day they started, they were my next door neighbor, did their logo, did all that stuff, right? And so like, I got a little gun store that's 500 square feet. Figure out 3 months in, they're making $80,000 a month out of a 500 square foot little shop, right? I was like blown away by seeing that. But I had little mom and pop businesses like that. And those mom and pops, I've broken them down now. I've created a training on this called the Fisherman and the Gardener. And inside of that training, I break clients into 3 phases. You have pond clients, you have lake clients, and you have ocean clients. The pond clients are the bottom feeding minnows and guppies and the bottom feeders that just want to, I'll send you some business and you just do this for free, or, just give me a discount on this and I'll give you 2 clients. And they'll wheel and deal and they get very creative in the things that, if you help me with this business, I'll give you equity and I'll share the profits with you. If I had a nickel for every person that offered me profit in their business, those are the yellow flags and sometimes red flags that I'm like, nope, not for me, right? So I started with pond clients, got 3,000 of those, and there was a mixed bag, some lake in there, but a lot of those 80% of them were pond clients, and I used that as leverage to go out and get the lake clients. Now, 80% of my clients are lake clients, and 20% are ocean clients. I leveraged the lake clients to get me ocean clients. YouTube is what brought me the ocean clients, digitalmarketer.com, VectEasy, BenQ. So I've basically been able to move up the ladder and move into the ocean with the whales and the sharks and the swordfish, right? So I break those into those 3 categories like that just to make it simple. I like to take the complicated and make it simple. And so the lake clients that I have that are really my favorite clients to work with are the attorneys, professional services, high-end, high-ticket, right? Everything around the high-ticket world that's my area I like to play in. I don't hear from my attorney clients more than like once or twice a year versus the pond clients who call me every day, sometimes multiple times a day. What's going on, my kid? What? And every little dollar that goes out is the whole world for them, right? And so I have pretty much eliminated all my lake clients. But the other thing that I did, and this is some advice for any business owner, a lot of people are focused on demographics when it comes to their branding. Demographics are important, right? Age, income, all those things are great. But I had this big aha moment in 2021. It was end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And this aha moment, I've been trying to niche down. Everybody's like, Adrian, you need to go into niche. Like, I don't really like home services. Like, it pays well and it's cool, but contractors are kind of a pain to deal with, similar to real estate agents. I don't really want to niche into one niche. And I've done everything. I mean, I've literally worked in every niche. You name a niche, I guarantee you I've worked casinos. I mean, other than underwater basket weaving, right? I've worked in every niche. So I go through all these different niches and I'm like, I'm pretty industry agnostic at this point. I feel like that's kind of one of my advantages. I've been doing this for 18 years now this year. That's kind of an advantage of mine. It's not a demographic. And so I had this vision where there was a ping pong table set up and it was like set up for beer pong, which was funny because I'm not a beer pong guy. I'm not a beer drinker, but there was red Solo cups all over the table. It was like I am a visionary, so I get these visions. And there was like 150, 200 red Solo cups on the table. And in the vision, my arm just goes across the whole table and wipes them all off the table. And all those cups were my ideas. All the different ideas and the directions I could possibly go. And at the very far edge of the table, there was 1 cup left and it was like hanging off the edge. And so I reach over to the table and I grab it and I pick it up. And for some reason, I picked it up and I looked at the bottom of it and written on the bottom, it says social impact. And the light bulb went off, a light bulb moment. And I was like, it's not about a demographic, it's a psychographic. I want to work with like-minded people, but what actually drives me and the clients that I love working with, that I have relationships with, like I still have clients that have been with me since 2015. Agency clients that I'm still Smog Shop in Vacaville. Look up Smog Shop Vacaville, you see they're number 1 on maps, on ads, organically. I mean, they've dominated, right? And I've grandfathered in with this. They're still paying me $800 a month. They've never paid me $1 more since they started. I've just grandfathered them in. But being able to understand that like-hearted entrepreneurs and like-hearted business owners that they're going after their purpose in life. They're pursuing a purpose. They're not just pursuing money, right? Money is the byproduct. So I made this huge pivot in 2021 and was like, I'm done with 80% of these clients. So I got rid of like so many clients, like a ton of them.
You just told them
We're done. We're not a fit. This isn't working for us. We're done. And my whole team, at first they were like gung ho, they were excited. And then when I told them we were firing all these clients, they were like, oh, but that was my first 7-figure year.
wow.
It took me 14 years to get to a 7-figure year. And so when I shifted and went fully into alignment with what God was calling me to do, right? Help at-risk youth, restore broken families, and work with purpose-driven businesses. Now the clients that I work with give money to Shriners, right? Gingery is huge in Shriners. Lgen.com, a huge company in Connecticut, they only hire veterans, right? So like every business I work with now has some sort of cause. And occasionally I have businesses come to me. They're like, oh, I'm just trying to make money and feed my family and survive. I'm like, cool, that's a noble cause. Like try to feed your family and take care of it. But let's get into your story. And so I start getting deeper and peeling those layers back into who they are, their childhood, their hurts, their habits, their hangups, their traumas, all that. Yeah. And that's when the gold starts to come out in their heart. And I'm like, now we take this and wrap your story of your personal life into your business and make that the cause and the purpose behind your brand. And now you're a purpose-driven brand that is going to resonate and connect with somebody that's very ideal to you. And so now you're not just working for money, but you're working for purpose. And that right there is like putting freaking racing fuel on the fire.
As a professional in the industry and a brand strategist, what do you think are the biggest mistakes that companies are making right now?
I think we're in this age right now where everything has become so minimalist in branding, in storefronts, in their interiors. They just remove all of it, remove all the personality. And I think that our nature and complexity and creativity and imperfection that we have as human beings is being lost. And they're just trying to make everything stale and very boring, right? And simple is important when it comes to branding, but you can still communicate story and values and your messaging in a way that is authentic while still keeping it simple. And so there's this balance that I feel like is off right now. It's just like, I'm just going to make it as corporate looking as possible. And for small business owners, that's a big mistake because then you just blend in with everybody. And if you're blending in with everybody, you're not standing out. So I think the secret sauce that I have that I share with people in terms of branding is that the one thing that you have that nobody else has, and the thing that Walmart's and all these big corporations have gotten away from, is their story. They stopped telling the Sam Walton story. They stopped telling, like, that should be a part of, like, when you walk into that store, there should be him on TVs and him in his pickup truck. Like, there's so much more that could be done with branding to tell the story. Think about the movie industry, the gaming industry. They're all built around stories. And so the fact that companies are not going out and telling their stories, leveraging YouTube, doing more of that on social media and incorporating that into why they started, how they started, what their biggest adversities are. Most people are afraid to talk about their failures. It's another thing. I embrace those failures and I use those in my marketing materials, right? Because if you look at like...
It relates to people.
Yeah. If you look at Donald Miller's story brand framework, at the end, the 7th step is you call them to action, which is going to result in success or failure. And so you're going to learn a lot more and give a lot more value from the failure than you're ever going to give anybody from the success, right? Success leaves clues, but failure leaves the way forward, right? And so that's something that I really focused on with my clients is like, tell me about your biggest mistakes. Tell me about your biggest losses. Tell me about your biggest failures. And the more of that I can get out, I can find out where their limiting beliefs are, and I can help them use those limiting beliefs to help somebody else. Comes back to purpose, right? A lot of brands lack purpose.
Yeah, so you mentioned story, and we've had a few people on here recently that have kind of said that. It's like, that's the stuff that really connects with people, and that's just where we've gotten away from, right? We're trying to be flashy and follow trends, and there's a part of doing that in business. But when people go to you for the first time and go to your website, that's something that I've been wanting to push for the last few years. Back in 2020, we had 2 videos done for our business, kind of just, highlighting what we do and what we offer, but also kind of a little bit of background. And that's something that we want to push it. And also like client testimonials too. It's like, tell people of like their experience working with you. That's the stuff that people want to know. Like when they come to your site, if they can realize that you're a real person and connect with you and feel that non-corporate-y vibe.
Well, the relationship, right, is the key. The relationship you and I have, that we have social currency between each other. A lot of people are not building enough of that social currency, and I think that's really important to build. And the way that you nurture and grow that is by actually listening. Not by speaking, but listening and asking the right questions. Because the more I ask questions and then just sit there and like one-on-one connect with that person, that's what made me have so much success in that first company I had, California Printing. People would walk into my studio, and as soon as they walk in, I was like a puppy dog with my tail wagging. I was so excited. They walked into my shop. I'm freaking 19, 20 years old. I'm like, hi, how's it going? How you doing? And they're like, hi. And they're like, dude, this guy's energy is, I'm really passionate, really excited. I'm like living my dream right now. All I wanted to do was do graphic design, not work for somebody else, and be an entrepreneur. Those were my dreams. So I'm sitting here living my dream, so excited. I'm like, tell me about yourself and what do you do? And just asking a million questions to these people. I'm like, have a seat. We can design it right now. They're like, what do you mean design it right now? I'm like, I'll design your business cards right now. And they're like, really? I'd sit there and design it, right? So the experience that we create for them is really important. And people are losing that. And that's a combination of story, relationship, right? And being able to have a good process and a good flow for that. And so I learned after each of those sessions, over doing 3,000 of them, how to refine those systems and those processes to make that experience as great as I possibly could. So by the time they walked out of there, they're walking out with cards in hand. They walk in with just an idea, like, I need some business cards. I'm like, cool, you have a design? They're like, no. I'm like, cool, let's do it. And then let's print them. And then now you walk out with it, or let's install this on your vehicle. And so that experience is really key. But back to the relationships, I think that if you have brands like the big Walmarts of the world that do a better job of listening to their customers, everybody wants to be heard, but nobody really wants to listen to anybody else. And that's the problem I see with social media is like, they all want to share their stuff, but they don't really care about anybody else's stuff. And so we're just becoming more and more isolated and more narcissistic, to be honest, in our society of just like all about me, and it's all about my story. It's all about my thing. It's all about my pains and all about my sorrows, when it's really about reaching out and connecting and building real, authentic relationships with people. And that's why I feel like I've had the career that I've had, is because I genuinely am interested and I freaking love people. And I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know what breaks their heart in the world. I want to know what motivates them, what gets them out of bed every day, right?
You've talked about, just from seeing you online, like this is more of kind of our first real interaction in person, but I know that you're a man of faith and self-improvement, and that's been integral in your success. Can you share how these elements have continued to play a role in your personal and professional life?
Yeah. My journey's wild, obviously, from the start. And I think the thing that most people do is they cope, right, with their traumas, their hurts, and their hangups and things, and they hide from the world. They hide their pains, they hide their shame, right? A lot of people are living with shame, and they hide that shadow self. And I think the thing that people will realize, whether I'm on a podcast or a YouTube video or face-to-face with somebody, is the person that I am online is exactly who I am in person. Like, there's no difference between that. And I think that's what people like, is just this authenticity about me. I'm just not afraid to show the ugly, the dirty. And if I make a mistake or I say something that's wrong, I'll be like, dude, that was totally wrong. I was way out of line. I'm sorry. And most people have a hard time doing that and calling themselves out and admitting their mistakes, right? So I think that's an important element of it. But when I first started as an entrepreneur, it was survival mode for me. I was full blown like, okay, fresh out of jail, because I wrote my business plan in jail, got out, implemented it. And 6 months later, now my whole world and life looks completely different, right? From 18 to 20, my world was 180 degrees, from employee to all of a sudden entrepreneur having a retail store. It was just a crazy change in a really short period of time, but I hadn't done any personal development work, nothing. Well, in 2008, 2009, I hired a sign guy to come work for me. I think it was 2008, end of 2008. And he's like, hey, you should come to my church. And I'm like, dude, get out of here with all that. Like, I'm not doing all that. Like, I grew up in a Christian family. My dad was never the one that walked it out, but he believed in God. And my stepmom was a huge influence on me and asking me, hey, do you love your brother? And I was like, of course I love my brother. She's like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, I just feel it. I just know it. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain how I know I love my brother. She's like, that's God. Right? You can't touch it. You can't see it, but you know it's real. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, that's God. Right? So that one little seed that she planted in me carried me all throughout my young life, my childhood, and into my adult life. And that seed started to sprout, which I didn't realize. And so from about 17 until 2021, in that 2008 period, I was very spiritual. So I was doing meditation and Kundalini stuff and chakra balancing and all the new age stuff, right? But I believed in Jesus, and I knew that Jesus was real and he existed and there was scientific proof and all that. But the Bible side, the biblical side of things and religion, I was just super against. I'm like, not for organized religion, not for any of that. I know Jesus was real. I know he was the Son of God. But other than that, the rest of it can fall to the wayside. I don't really care about that. And so I had this guy, come to church with me, come to church with me, come to church with me, come to church. I'm like, dude, enough already. I'm like, fine. Persistence wears down resistance, right? If you're persistent enough in something, you'll eventually get it, right? I have a friend of mine that went to space after he was told he was never going to go to space. He got to freaking space because he just was not going to take no for an answer. Tried to do NASA. They told him no. He's like, cool, I'm going to Russian. I'm going to learn Russian. Got into the space program through Russia, and then it was funded by the US. So now he got into NASA too, right? So just persistence wears down resistance. I tell myself that every single day. And so if you're persistent enough, you'll get that. And so through this journey, I started to realize like, I need to start working on myself personally and get out of this survival mode. So go to church with him, get baptized, because I was really moved by the small group. It was like 20 people in the whole church. It was like an office space like the size of this place. Very small church, very small group of people, but I built relationships with them, started to trust them, started to like them. And the pastor was just such a down-to-earth, genuine dude. He was from the UK and he was a retired firefighter, and just really neat group of people. And so just through proximity and putting myself in proximity with them, I decided, you know what, it's time to turn my life over to Jesus and actually get baptized. So I got baptized, had a crazy Holy Spirit, like just reckoning moment of just like 1,000 pounds coming off my shoulders I didn't realize. Wow. And that was kind of the catalyst in the moment of like, okay, I need to start like working on myself. Had seasons of like personal development, very lightly just reading books and things like that, but I really wasn't doing the work that I needed to. And then went through a divorce, got married, went through a divorce in 2016, and found Jesus in a whole new way, went way down the rabbit hole in my faith and just dove deep. Youth ministry, volunteering at the churches, working multiple days per week, doing the Wednesday thing, doing the Friday thing, doing the Sunday thing, driving from Pollock Pines down to Sac, going to Jesus culture. All of it. I went all in on Jesus. And I started to have a lot of stuff internally healed through youth groups and through other events and, people praying over me and healings and different things that happen. I started to experience a lot of healing, a lot of internal healing from my relationship with God, getting into the Word, reading the book of Job, going through a lot of life challenges still. And then in 2019, my wife says to me, she brought something up about personal development. I'm like, personal development's just like a Ponzi scheme, racket, Tony Robbins. It's just a money making game. And she kind of like laughed at me, like, it's kind of weird coming from you. And it was kind of a weird thing. And I didn't really think much of it. And then I got into more plant medicine. And I started to go down that path. And that was a very eye-opening experience for me, and realizing how many things I hadn't addressed yet. Started going to therapy, like hired a therapist and went to the counselor, started reading books on just connection and relationship and love language. Just started really going way down the rabbit hole on personal development, but more of like personal healing and personal wellness and personal growth. Changed my diet, like just started doing so many different things to start loving myself, like actually genuinely loving myself and embracing every aspect, because we are beings of light that have ranges from enlightenment, right, all the way down to the dark, evil thoughts and experiences that we have, right? And so we can choose where we want to be on that spectrum, but we also can embrace all of it. We are all of it. We are the light and we are the dark. God is the light and God is the dark. He created all things, right? And so being able to embrace that and not feel shame for the inadequacies, for the failures, for the mistakes that I made, and to embrace that really what it was the 4 or 5-year-old Adrian, and to be like, hey, I know you lie. I know you make mistakes. I know you did this thing wrong. I know you did that thing wrong. I know you looked at this. I know you looked at that. And being able to hug that little version of me and just say, it's okay, I love you. That was like the whoa. And like you come out of the survival mode and now you start to go into this like thriving growth mode. You come out of scarcity and you go into abundance. And from 2019 till today, it's just like, if anybody knew me, and in fact, I'm working with a buddy of mine on the meme marketing thing who's known me for 12, 13 years. I'm not the same kid that I was. Some client like get out of line and like, rude to me or disrespectful. Hey, how about we go outside? Like wouldn't hesitate to fight somebody. I don't care if it's my client, my friend. No, let's go take a step outside. And they wouldn't need to run their mouth. I would just straight deck them or smack them in their mouth. Like I was that angry, right? And so over the last 15, 20 years, I've started to do more and more of this work. My heart has softened. I've healed myself. I'm not angry. I'm very loving. And that's where I came up with Love Gangsters. Like I have that origins and the gangster side from my childhood, right? I'm not afraid of anything or anyone, but I also, the true nature of who I am at my core is very loving. I love the heck out of people.
What habits and routines do you believe are essential for, maintaining good mindsets and then also like entrepreneurial mindsets in business.
Yeah. Rituals and routines. I like this topic because it's something that I've put a lot of emphasis into. There's so many things, like along with plant medicine, breath work, right? What opened me up to plant medicine and even like interested in trying it is I did breath work. And when I did Wim Hof breath work and I went through a breath meditation, my buddy Joey took a combination of what Tony Robbins does in his meditations along with Wim Hof and combined them into one. And I went to Florida in 2020. I think it was 2020 or 21. Yeah, 21 to Florida to end my marriage, like to get the confidence and to get the brotherhood in my mastermind group around me to have the confidence to go back and end my marriage because it wasn't healthy. And by the end of my breathwork session, I was weeping and sobbing. And I had this vision of my daughter giving birth to her kid someday. And I was in the hospital room watching that. And I realized that I needed to change a lot of my habits and rituals and routines in my life so that I could live long enough to be there to experience that. But I also realized I went to this mastermind feeling defeated in my marriage, successful in a lot of different areas of my life, but defeated in my marriage, and walked out like, I'm not just not done. I am just getting started. And that was like, crazy change. So the habits and routines, one of them was making a priority for myself to just put joy into my day. What am I doing every day to spark joy? If I was looking at myself as a friend, am I being a good friend to myself or not? And for the reality of my life, for the majority of my life, all the way up until the last 4 or 5 years, I was not a good friend to myself. I ate like crap. I stayed up, pulled 24-hour shifts in the name of success and in my clients. I sacrificed relationships. I sacrificed friendships. I sacrificed so many things in the name of business and success and did not spark joy. And I did not treat myself well. And I'm dealing with some medical health issues because of all of that sacrifice that I make. And now I'm paying for it. And so I think taking time to do things like breath work, taking time to read the Bible or read every single day. Everybody that's watching this can read 1 page of a book a day. And if you make that a ritual and routine and you put it in your calendar every single day and you stick to that calendar and you're disciplined in that, the compound effect of just 1% per day, right? Reading 1 page a day makes you 1% better per day. You compound that over a year, and you compound that over 10 years, and you compound over what I've been doing in my career for the last 18 years, the person that you're going to be in 18 years from now, if you just read 1 page a day, will look completely different. I know quite a few people that are my age that still have not read a book since high school, and they're business owners. I'm like, what are you doing? Do you realize that the ultimate sales machine exists, and that book alone will make me $100 million on my career? And they're like, what? What do you mean $100 million? I'm like, dude, the methods and frameworks that are taught is wisdom. It's not just information. It's wisdom from people that lived real world experiences that have been through the fires like you and I have been through. So if you're not going to go pick up on that wisdom, a $10, $15 book is worth $100 million to me.
One of the big leaders like Tony Robbins and Ed Milet and all, like they all preach about reading, and now they got books themselves. So
exactly. So that's another one. So reading, praying. So the way I do it to simplify all this, because I could go on and on about rituals and routines, is there's up, in, and out. So this is a discipleship model I learned a long time ago. You got to spend time with your creator, whether that's through meditation, through prayer, whether you believe in Allah. I don't believe that God cares what name we call it, right? Whether we call it Allah or Buddha or Jesus or God, whatever name, that's a human construct. So I'm not set on that, but you got to spend time with creator. Prayer, meditation. Every time Jesus did a miracle and performed some sort of thing, he would go back and be alone with his Father, right? So you got the up. Then you have the out, community, relationships, proximity, putting yourself in proximity with high-level thinkers, people who are motivated, people who are passionate, people who have good rituals and routines, right? So like F3 as a fitness group. You can join for free. If you don't have fitness in your life, you can go do that for free. There's freaking F3 locations all over Sacramento, all over the country. It's huge. I think it's even global now, right? Free fitness training. So there's no excuse, I don't have the money to go train and to go do this. Wake your butt up, get up early, and go do that, right? So there's out, community, and all those different aspects. And then there's up, out, and then in. So internally, like, what are you doing to spark joy? Are you taking care of your health, right? So your internal world, right? Whether that can be reading, drawing, just any of those activities. So the up, in, and out model is really good. And that's the model I would say for everybody to implement in their life is find rituals and routine in each of those.
Learning a lot from you today.
That was the goal.
I like to ask people that come on the podcast, do you have a memorable experience, impactful experience from working with a client, a story that you can share?
Oh, man. over 5,000 clients, it's hard to pick one story because there's so many. On the positive side, I think what I mentioned it briefly, so I'll just circle back to it. The home improvement space has been very good to me, between solar, HVAC. My brother's in the industry now, has a multi-million-dollar roofing company that he sold called Spartan. You may have seen their trucks around town. Started it in end of 2020, beginning of 2021. Within 90 days, he was doing $1 million a month. All right, so home services is a crazy good space to be in, especially now. It's something that AI won't be able to replace, so it's a good niche to be in. I started with a company called Syntrol, Syntrol, and we were doing $800,000 a year when I started. By the time I left there, 2.5 years in, we were doing $22 million a year. I was the marketing. My mentor, Larry, who I've talked about a lot throughout this, was the sales. So he was marketing, I was marketing, he was sales. So that was a huge thing to experience, being able to hire the best experts in the world on marketing, the science of marketing, marketing strategies. There was so much that I picked up off of that helped shape me who I am today, was the catalyst for me starting my agency, going from solo consultant freelancer to agency owner again. Negative stories. Oh man, I want to pick on something probably a little bit more recent. I had a client that started a product that was brilliant. It was a product for women, a feminine product, to help them with their periods, their premenstrual cycle, PMS. And he had no name, but he had formulated this product that had horsetail. It's like an extract or whatever, horsetail extract, Delta-8, like CBD, and a few other proprietary ingredients in it. And it reduced the symptoms of PMS like 90%. Like it was significant, from the cramps to the bloating to the dizziness to the fatigue to all that. It got rid of all of it. It was a real product that worked really well. Like, I need a brand. And I'm like, cool. So I do what I do best. Came up with a brand name. I called it Grace Period, because every girl deserves a grace period. Wow. Right? It's period, grace, has kind of a faith-based aspect. Came up with the icon for it with my buddy Brian Tenadora, where we drew this like flower leaf that kind of looked like the feminine part, but it was a flower, but it was also a woman raising her hands up. Yeah. So kind of a praise period. Yeah, and there was a dot period in the it was gorgeous logo. Yeah. Did the logo, created the web page. So there was another company that had a similar offering, but it was like gummies or something like that. It was a different type of product, but it helped with the periods for women. And so I revamped that took that, basically funnel hacked it, made my own version of it, built the whole thing out. And our deal was we were going to do a revenue share. He was going to pay $10,000 a month to get this product to market. And as a go-to-market strategy, I had done all the groundwork for him, done everything. He paid me for the brand strategy, paid me for the logo, and a couple other things, but I was doing a revenue share. All the rest of it was going to be revenue share. He was just covering the cost to advertise. So it was going to be $10,000 a month. We go to launch that, set all the expectations properly. I've gotten really good at setting expectations with clients. Set the expectations properly. We get 2 weeks into the campaign, he'd only given me $3,000. Like, hey man, need the rest of this money. Never did it. We get 2 months into the campaign. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, we're not getting any results. I'm like, well, we haven't gotten any more money. We're doing everything we can organically on our side, but we need you to hold up your end of the bargain. And so that's probably the hardest story, because he had a great product. He had a great brand, but his execution and doing what he said he was going to do there was no follow through, and he didn't believe in it enough. And so now on a situation like that, I would take that money up front. Okay, cool. You want to do this? It's $10,000 a month. I need $120,000 up front. And if you put the $120,000 up front to show me you're serious, then I will dedicate my time and do this on a performance basis and get the results. But you got to be willing to put the $120,000 in. I'm not profiting anything from this $120,000. This is all going into our costs. This is all ad spend, all costs. And it's going to be competitive. It's going to be expensive to compete and to jump into this space, because there's some people in there and they're spending a lot more money than $10,000 a month. And I can do a lot. I can turn a $10,000 a month and I can get $100,000 a month worth of marketing out of that. You know what I mean? So that's a failure story that happened in the last couple of years. It was completely fizzled out. No more website, no more brand. The product doesn't even exist. And I wish it did, because my wife freaking loved that product. She was like, dude, this stuff is amazing. Wow. Right? How do I get more of this? How can we just create it ourselves? I'm like, dude, no. But like, just a bummer to see like someone just isn't willing to show up for their side of things. And so putting contracts into place, making people pay up front, showing that they're serious, making them commit, because when clients come to me, even though I am $5,000, I'm very clear in my first onboarding call. Is like, this is not $5,000 a month. This is a $60,000 package that I'm financing for you at $5,000 a month. Yeah. Right. This is the deal. This is a year commitment.
You're not cutting off after 2 weeks.
Exactly. We're not getting 2 weeks into this. You're like, oh, this isn't working. Never mind. I'm out. Right. You should not expect any, like YouTube. If I was expecting returns, if I had hired somebody to do everything I did on YouTube, dude, it took me 2 years to see any real results on YouTube. 2 years. Most clients aren't even willing to go 90 days before they cut the freaking cord.
Yeah, it depends on the client. Some won't even go 2 weeks without like, oh my gosh, I'm spending a few $100s. Like I need to.
Yeah, I've got my $250 marketing budget. I've been doing this for 3 weeks. Oh, it's like, oh my God, dude, you're killing me right now. Like, how much is one client worth to you? I don't know. How much do you make on a client over the course of a year? I don't know. What's your average ticket? I don't know. I'm like, do you have a marketing plan? I don't know. And it's like the mistake that 99% of business owners make is they don't even have a plan. And that's my blue ocean. That's what I want to be known for. And that's why I'm building the software. I'm going to be the marketing, planning, brand strategy, sales planning, and strategy guy. Like the planning, that's my zone of genius. I've gotten really good at that. That's where I was weak at multiple points in my career. Every time I've had the downhill, the downward spirals on my businesses, it's always when I wasn't following my plan.
As we are wrapping this up, what is one piece of advice that you would give for business owners, people going into business, people that want to leave a job, 9 to 5, or, leave a situation that maybe they're stuck in, they feel stuck. What's a piece of advice that you would give them to make a jump or to start in their journey?
My advice to them, and there's multiple pieces and layers to this, so it's hard to give a one blanket answer, but the analogy I like to use is lead with the napkin, not with the bib. Most people are looking at other people that are sitting across the table or on Zoom or on social media as what can I get from this person rather than what can I give to this person. When you're starting off from zero. You have no momentum, no traction, no success. Hopefully you've proven your concept and you've gotten somebody to be like, yeah, I would do that. I would invest. You see a need in the market, right? But the key is go out there and meet them where they're at. So one of my mentors, John Pyron, coach, mentor, partner of mine, we worked together for a long time. One of the things that he did is when he was starting to get into the coaching space after selling his tech company, he was trying to do coaching for people. And he was like, $1,500. And they're like, I just can't afford that. He's like, cool, no problem. Next. $1,500. Cool, no problem. Next. Can't afford that. Can't afford that. Can't afford that. And he was like, God, what is happening? And he was a new Christian. Like, what is going on? Why is nobody able to afford this? Like, what is going on? God was like, just meet them where they're at. So he's like, okay. When he went to the next person, like $1,500. Like, I can't afford that. He's like, what can you afford? And they're like, oh, I can afford like 500. And he's like, cool, done. $500. The next person, what can you afford? Oh, I can afford $500. Oh, I can afford 300. Cool. And he still has those clients today because he met them where he's at. And then all of a sudden he got to that person and like, what can you afford? Oh, $1,500. Cool. Now he's like at $4,000, right? So he's ramped it up. So you got to start somewhere. Just meet people where they're at. You may not be in high profit mode in the beginning, but just like I have with my meme marketing offer, I'm offering 90 memes a month. It's 30 times 3, but I'm offering 30 memes across 3 platforms for $97 a month. And my AI software that I have is $97 a month. So I'm basically giving my AI software away for free and then doing all this marketing for them. And I'm doing an onboarding consultation with them. That's an hour and a half, which I normally charge $1,500 to $2,500 for. So the value.
So you're not really making money there, but you're playing the longer game.
It's the customer acquisition that I'm doing, right? Because the customer cost me $1,500 to acquire a customer on average. But if I can acquire them, they're paying me $100, right, a month. That's $1,200. Now my customer acquisition cost is essentially zero, and I'm building market data. I'm getting case studies, and I'm helping build out systems and processes that I can implement either into Brand Butler or make the meme marketing an offering inside of Brand Butler. I mean, I don't know where that's going to go quite yet. I might just exit that in a year. That's kind of one of my thoughts. But that would be my advice, is to create a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. Straight up, 90% of businesses will fail because they don't have a plan. And that's just the statistic in general. And then lead with the napkin, not with the bib. Like those are the two big things. If you focus on that, just go out there and help somebody, right? You have a skill, you have a lesson, you have a gift, you have something that God has given you in your life that can help somebody else's life be better today, tomorrow, a week from now, whenever that is. Just go out there and do it. And value yourself enough to be able to be like, hey, this is my price. And if they're like, nah, sorry, I don't have the money for that. Cool. What can you afford? Money is not a real objection. It's just an excuse. It's a limiting belief. It's a scarcity mindset. So that would be the big thing I would say too. The last thing is just get out of that scarcity mindset. And what you can do to really help shift, it was a major change for me, was reading the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. That book, there is so much programming that we have. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is the root of all evil. Money can't buy happiness, right? I have a shirt that says money can't buy happiness, but broke can't buy anything, right? And so like the reality is that money is a very powerful tool, just like AI and just like all the other things. It's a tool. right? And how you use that tool is it either makes you more of what you are or more of what you're not, right? And so money is just, it basically magnifies whatever it is that you have. If you're a greedy person, it's just going to make you greedier. If you're a giving person, it's just going to make you more giving.
Yep. So for yourself, what are your goals for the next year or next 5 years in business? I know you said at some point you want to have an exit with Brand Butler, but professionally, personally, what are your goals?
Yeah, I would say a year from now, I will probably be exiting on one of my brands. I don't know which one yet. Most likely it'll be meme marketing. And I will be 100% content creation. I will not be doing consulting. I still do a little consulting, but I'll be 100% content creation I'll have my next year. I want to have all 4 of my books out. I've already written 4. The first draft is done on 2 of them. I'm just super picky and I'm like wanting to go back now and add some things to it from what's happened over the last few months. But get all my books out over the next year, start releasing courses. So I've got a bunch of like small little mini courses I've made, but I haven't ever released them. So getting courses out, probably exiting one of my brands so I can use that cash to continue to fuel my content creation. And then just continue to build my mastermind group. I have a campaigner mastermind group that focuses a lot on AI. It's a social impact mastermind, but we use AI and video. Those are kind of the 2 pillars of the campaigner mastermind is social impact, video, and AI. That's kind of taking the 3 of those combined. And that's what the campaigner mastermind
and
is.
You'll be filming those courses and stuff over at your studio. Tell them a little bit about your studio over in, is it Roseville?
It's in Lincoln. Yeah, so I have a small little studio. It's about 750 square feet that I built out just initially to do my own YouTube stuff. And then I saw what you were doing. I saw some of my other friends were doing with their studios in San Diego and different places. I'm like, man, I could generate leads and just use this as a giant lead magnet to bring in my clients and put my stuff on Peerspace, right? And so I've linked up with major names, Dolph DeRoos and some other big names, Chris Crone, things like that from having the studio. And so they come in, they do their live streams. I do that there, live stream on Zoom calls, and we've generated well over $150,000 on the live streams from my studio, which is really cool to watch. These people making that kind of money. I'm like, man, I need to start getting into doing that. So that's kind of the trajectory I'm going in, is like webinars, courses, books, YouTube, just more content creation, masterminds. I want to do more community stuff. And that's kind of the goal for the next year. And then 5 years, I'll definitely be out of Brand Butler by then. I'm looking at for like probably a 3-year runway. I'm already a year in. So probably 2 years from now, I'll be out of Brand Butler, probably do an exit on that. And then from that point, most of my time, it's going to flop. So right now, 80% of my stuff is focused on work and business, and 20% is focused on like philanthropy and social impact stuff. That's going to flip flop. So 20% will be focused on content and writing and creating, and then 80% will be focused on social impact, at-risk youth, ministry stuff, nonprofits. I have a few nonprofits. I'm on the board for a company called a nonprofit called Digital for Good. So more speaking at those things.
Yeah, I was going to say speaking. I know you've done like a TED Talk before.
Speaking, just educating, teaching, and working with youth. That's my big thing.
Everybody that's coming on the podcast, this is a visionary mindset podcast. So you're a visionary, but we have a few traits that kind of go with being a visionary. So a few of them are resilient, being optimistic, risk taker, creative, things like that. So what 1 or 2 traits would you think most describe you and why?
I would say grit, probably one of the biggest ones, which is resiliency, right? Yeah. Same thing, just another word for it. The big one, I would say being a servant leader. I don't know what the technical term I would say for that. It's just being a giver, right? Like the go-giver, Bob Berg type of mentality. That's another big trait of mine. And then I would say probably a third one, I'd like to do everything in 3s, would probably be just living a life that's in flow. A lot of people are trying to find balance, and that's almost impossible. It's so hard. It's like you're just doing this seesaw effect. I feel like life, whether it's money, personal life, professional life, is about flow. So money is currency, right? Current. So if you are doing the right things, you're adding value into the world, you're helping people, you're making the world a better place, you're serving out there, you're loving on people, that compound effect, you're growing yourself, you're loving God. The compound effect that's going to happen over the long time horizon is going to be just monumental. And so if you just stay focused on being in flow, money is going to naturally flow to you. You don't have to go out and try to find money. Money is going to find you, and it's supposed to flow through you, not to you. And a lot of people get it and then they hold on to it and they hoard it. The more you hoard it, the slower it's going to stop. It's not the design, it's currency. It's a current. It's supposed to flow. So just stay in that flow and look at your life and map it out of the people that you have in your life, of where they're at. This person connects to this person. And that was one mistake I made, is I had all these connections and relationships, but none of them were working together. And when I mapped it out and created a flow chart for everything, I'm like, oh, this person can help this person can help this person. And I had it all set up to where it all flowed back to me. Things just started really, I was like, whoa, what is happening right now? 10, 20, 30 grand a month in personal income. I'm like, dude, this is crazy, just by shifting some of the relationships in the right spot. So we're both in video. We should be leveraging our relationship. We're not competition. I give two craps about competing with you. I'm not competing with you. We have our own expertise, our own, what do they call that? Superpowers, our own zone of genius that we have. And if we operate those and we combine those, it's like two lasers coming together. We can move a lot faster together than we can alone. So if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a pack.
Go with a team. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. So where can people find you online? All your socials and websites?
Yeah. So adrianboysel.com if they want to connect with me more personally, if they resonated with the stuff that I'm saying. YouTube, if you want to learn from me, I've shared like 80% of what I know in terms of business stuff on my YouTube channel. There's a bunch more I'm going to be dropping over the next year that I haven't released there yet. I've been slowing down on YouTube. I'm about to put some rocket fuel on that. And then if you want to check out Brand Butler and use that software, I'll give it for free to everybody that's listening to this podcast. We'll set up a page. So you go to brandbutler.ai/visionary, and you'll be able to put your email in, get a code, and that'll give you 3 months on our platform for free, which is a $300 value right there.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Heck yeah.
Pleasure being on the podcast. Thank you.